Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. Today, I've got Cris Rodriguez on with us. Cris is the founder of Grow Pro Agency. Welcome, Cris. How's it going, Cris?
Oh, I'm super pumped to be here. Friday the 13th. What a great day for a podcast.
Absolutely. And how are you celebrating your Friday the 13th, the end of a busy week, I know?
Yeah, I was actually traveling. I'm an EOS implementer, so I was facilitating an EOS quarterly for one of my clients in Little Rock. And today we actually had a coffee truck come to the office and provide coffee for everybody. It was really, really cool experience. And then later on, we have a real estate broker coming in. I try to bring guest speakers in. We do an all hands on deck meeting every Friday at 2 p.m. And she helps people get into their starter home. And she's come twice before and she's helped four people purchase their first home for our employees. So really excited to have her come in. So we tried to make it a little special because it was Friday the 13th with coffee and a guest speaker.
That is awesome. That's amazing. Maybe I should join your team. Sounds super fun.
As long as you like
Awesome.
caffeine.
I do. I know who doesn't. So Cris, you've had a fascinating journey, and beginning as a martial arts trainer and instructor, and then transition to the digital marketing world. Um, I'm assuming martial arts was a big part of your life, and then you decided as you got into digital marketing, you wanted to kind of stay in that niche. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've been a lifelong martial artist. I think martial arts is a vehicle for someone to kind of reach their human potential. And I also think the entrepreneurial journey is very similar to that. So I started when I was 8 years old. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I opened my school in my 20s called Gracie Pack MMA. So it's a MMA and BJJ academy, and I operated that for 13 years. And as an entrepreneur, whether you own an ice cream parlor or a marketing agency or a martial arts school, there's skills that you're going to start developing. And one of those skills that I focused on developing was Facebook ads and Google ads, and saw a lot of success in growing my martial arts school through digital marketing. I live in Florida. It's super hot outside. And the thought of like flyering cars or being a PE teacher for the day as a marketing strategy, I'm like, it's really hot outside. I'd rather sit in my air conditioned office, open up my laptop, launch some ads, and have leads coming in. So that's really how we ended up growing the school very successfully. And because of social media, people saw that and they were like, Cris, how are you growing the school? I'm like, through Facebook ads and Google ads. And that turned into, well, will you teach me? And I have a degree in education. I love teaching. And I said, sure. So I launched an 8-week marketing mastermind course and taught school owners how to run Facebook ads, how to do Google ads. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they came to me and they said, Cris, this was fantastic. I learned so much, but I don't want to do this. Will you just do it for me? And that's where Grow Pro was born, from teaching those 8-week courses. And I ended up taking on 10 classes. I still owned the school at the time, and took 10 clients on and instantly realized, holy crap, I just bought myself a job. And, started scaling it with 1099 clients. And here we are 6 years later. I've got 43 team members and in-office, setup, and we help around 600 martial arts schools all over the United States.
Amazing. And so that was 3 years ago you started?
6 years. So back in
6 years.
2019 is when I was teaching those 8-week courses. And when I decided, all right, I'll go ahead and take a handful of clients on, and that's where it was born.
That was the beginning. Amazing. I'm sure with those 10 clients, you single-handedly managing them, you figured out pretty quick you needed systems and team members and a process that you could follow. Did you use that same training to coach your first teammates who joined to essentially fulfill the service?
Yeah, and I actually brought on an account manager who went through the 8 weeks, and somebody that I was very close with. I had been coaching and consulting them for many years, and they knew how to run Facebook ads for their own martial arts school. So I went the 1099 route that a lot of agencies start with, and When COVID hit and everybody went remote, I'm one of those people, if everybody's going to the left, I'm going to go to the right. And when COVID hit, I made the decision, you know what? I want to have more control. I want to be in person. I know I can build an in person business because I did that in the martial arts school. I feel like my leadership style leans in more to that. And I started bringing on full time, in office employees as opposed to the 1099 contractors because I wanted to make this, something big. And I knew I would be able to do it with that model.
It's totally different from what most agencies have done, going in person, bringing people in full time. Um, what was the aha moment that led you to that conclusion that you needed to do this in person?
Yeah, I just think that culture wise, it's harder to build a very strong culture completely remote. We spend the majority of our day to day working, and I don't want to do that alone. I think one of the best things about what we're building here is the team and the people. And we're not in office every single day. We do work from home on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so it's hybrid. This summer, we're actually calling it Summer is Funner, and they're getting 2 full weeks of work from home, so we do lean into that. But I just think that we can offer a higher level of customer service when we're in person. I'm not waiting for a Slack response or an email response because I can walk right over to their desk and have that conversation. But I think it's just more fun in person. Like today, being able to bring in, the coffee truck. We do events every single month, from going to Rays games and Top Golf and bowling, and you just spend a lot of time working. And I think it's just a lot more fun when part of it is done in person. And I think we can move faster and offer a higher level of customer service.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We have to try to create that experience digitally, and so we do Good News Fridays with our team and other creative events around the holidays. For Christmas, for Halloween, and now we're doing these in person team intensives. So we bring our product team together and we do a hackathon, and so we still do the in person stuff, but we have to add it. Instead of, for you, it's the default, right? And much easier to,
Correct.
hey guys, let's have a meeting, let's bring people together. One question I have about that is, if you guys are in Tampa, do you ever find that it's, challenging to find a particular role or skill set there? And do you feel like you need to do more on the training side to cultivate those skills than you would otherwise if you could just hire anyone anywhere in the world?
Yeah, great question. If I lived in Newcastle, Indiana, probably would feel a little bit different because there's more cows than there are people in that city. Tampa is a flourishing city. I mean, there's over 1 million people here, so the talent pool is pretty deep. Our services that we offer are predominantly Facebook ads, and we have probably over 400 playbooks, which is what we call our SOPs. We only work in one niche. So I feel like the ability to onboard and train new hires is actually a little bit easier for us because we are kind of so singularly focused, and we
Mhm.
do have all of these processes dialed in because we've done it over and over and over again for so many different clients. So I think because I am in Tampa, very saturated area, it's not very difficult. We will put out an ad, and within 2 to 4 weeks we'll be able to have a new hire here. And I have only had in office team members up until January of this year. So I never had a VA. I acquired one of my competitors earlier this year, and part of that acquisition was bringing on some of their team members for the Philippines. So now we have 6 team members in the Philippines. And I was always very against it, and now not so much, because I think the best part of the acquisition was the team that we brought over. So we are now starting to look at some positions. I do believe I will always keep client facing positions in office leadership, level, management level positions will always be in office, but we are opening up to, having VAs on the team now more so.
Cool. Cool. So the agency at this point, I think you said 600 clients you guys have?
Yeah, just about.
Amazing. Amazing. And in terms of like the offer and the pricing, like what's the average client on a monthly basis look like for you guys?
Yeah, so we offer three main packages. So our base package is going to be our standalone. So you can either pick Facebook or you can pick Google. That's $5.97 a month. Our mid-tier package we call the pay-per-click authority. You get both. You get, and when I say Facebook, I mean Meta. So Facebook, Instagram, and Google. And then our top tier package includes, and that's $8.97. And then top tier package is Facebook, Instagram, Google database reactivation, Google business profile management, and social media management. And that's $12.97. So we have three different tiers. The average client is worth anywhere between 650 to 675. So we're right around that 400,000 MRR mark as of, this month in 2025. But we also have some add-on programs, and probably the one of the smartest decisions that we made was building a call center. I think one of the biggest complaints you hear about social media ads in general is lead quality, right? I hear this from agencies that are running, Facebook ads for their clients. We've heard it from our own clients in the past. It's just the leads are garbage, or the leads are weak, and there's definite processes that you can put in place to help with that. But one of the biggest reasons why people say the leads are weak is because they don't follow up with them. So we actually built a call center, and we offer that as a service where we will do live lead follow up. So we generate the lead, and these are human, US based. I'm really proud of this. I launched an ad 2 weeks ago, and I took a couple of pictures of our concierge agents, which is what we call our appointment setters. And I launched a Facebook campaign, and it's got a picture of them standing there, and it says, like, "This is Lydia. This is not AI." And I think the more we hear about AI, you're definitely going to have people that are going to be interested in kind of leveraging that, but you're going to have people that are going to go the opposite direction and say, well, all my competitors are using AI. Well, then the USP is I actually have a human that can pick up the phone and call. So we have 7 concierge agents that follow up with the leads within 5 minutes between the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to book appointments. And then we also confirm those appointments. So that's an add-on. You don't have to use it because not all clients need it. They might have a full-timer that, can handle that. But if you are running Facebook ads, I absolutely believe you are wasting your money if you don't have the ability to instantly follow up, and if you don't have the consistency of continually following up with that lead, because the buying cycle is just longer, on Facebook than, let's say, Google.
Right. And a lot of times what we found is from the leads that would come in, if you would call them and you would wait a little bit too long, they lose context. They're like, I don't
Yep.
remember filling out that form. I have no idea who you are. Um, and so I guess hitting them so quickly after they submit within 5 minutes, they're still in that context. They still remember who you are, or who that martial arts studio is, because you're really talking about servicing, right? Those MMA gyms somewhere in the country, right? Um, but tell me about like lead quality, like, because you have over 600 gyms or maybe more across the country. And we were talking a little bit about this, about through Meta ending up with vastly different cost per acquisition for those leads, sometimes low, sometimes high. What have you learned about that? And what are the sort of the factors that determine whether an MMA gym is going to end up with a high CPA or a low one?
Yeah, so this, conversation happens frequently in industry Facebook groups, right? And I'm in them all, and you'll get a school owner that'll post like Facebook ads are garbage, they're not working for me. And then, you'll have 100 people comment, and 50 of them say it's crushing it for me, and the other 50 say it's not crushing it, for me. And we, running ads for as many clients as we do, we have a lot of data. We know what our average cost per lead is company wide, and we even take it so far to track it per state, right? And that can be helpful because there are certain states that we typically see a higher cost per lead than others, like California, for example. New Jersey is another state that we typically see higher cost per lead. But at the end of the day, we ask our clients, like, hey, we get clients $3 cost per lead. We have clients that get $60 cost per leads. Like, do you think we're purposefully trying to get them a higher cost per lead? Like, of course not. We're following the same playbook for each client. We launch with, this process A. If process A doesn't work, then we optimize and go to process B. If that doesn't work, then we go to C. And there are variables that are outside of our control. One of them are the assets that are provided. And we know that video, because we see it in our stats, that video performs better. And video is also going to provide a higher quality lead, because if that parent sits there and watches a 90-second video versus scrolling by and opting into a text ad, they're more involved in that campaign already. Do you know how hard it is, though, to get videos from business owners? I mean, this is in any industry. It can be like pulling teeth, right? And I know that's why some people are really excited about AI and creating those AI videos. And, we've leveraged AI for, pictures, because we also know authentic pictures of the students in the class outperform some, form of stock. So the assets are a variable, and there are certain companies across all industries that put more time and energy into creating those assets than others. And it was such a pain point that we actually launched a done for you video service, where we will now send a videographer to their school. Everything is scripted. We'll film all the videos, we'll edit all the videos, and then we'll use those on their website and their organic campaigns and their ads, right? So assets is a variable. Another variable is the offer. And we know which offers work and which offers don't, but we ultimately leave it up to our customer to choose which offer, whether that's a paid offer or a free offer. The other variable is the follow-up. It's interesting when you see these agencies like, oh, we guarantee you 90 new students. And it's like, I'm not in the school doing your sales conversions. So you can maybe guarantee a number of leads, but the actual conversion of them, not all business owners have great sales processes. Some of them don't even have a sales process in general, right? So that follow up and that sales process is going to be another variable. And then finally, your location, your demographics, how saturated is that market? It's an auction. How many of your competitors, and not just martial arts schools, it's the dance studios, it's the bounce house places, anybody that's vying for the attention of your audience. So those are all variables that are outside of our control. And that's why you can have a school who has a very similar looking ad with similar ad copy get a $3 cost per lead, versus a $60 cost per lead. So this is why we really push our clients to, spend some time on what those assets on a monthly basis. And especially now, this is a big change. A couple of years ago, you could run an ad and that ad could run for like a year and still crush it. Today, you've got to be refreshing creatives almost on a 2 to 4 week basis. And if I'm your agency running ads and I've got to refresh your creatives, you've got to provide more creatives, for me. And the last thing I'll say on this is your reputation in your community does matter, right? If I see your ad, but then I go to Google and you've got, just maybe 5 reviews, or maybe you got a bunch of reviews and you have a low star rating, you're probably not going to get that first at bat. So there's just these, variable strategies. Some are outside of our control, some are within our control, and the ones that we can control, we're gonna. But I'm always wary when a prospect hops on a sales call, and I've got a BDR, and he's right across there, so I can sometimes hear his calls. And you have these people that hop on like, you're the 6th marketing agency that I've tried, and it's like, is it the agency or is it you? Because you're the only common denominator, when with using these 6 agencies. And I think business owners do need to reset expectations, because it's not 2015 and the wild, wild west where, everybody was getting $1 per lead on Facebook anymore. COVID changed that. There's more people advertising on the platform than ever before.
For sure. And we'll expect it to just continue to be that way. It's not going to double back and go down. The other thing is it's also an omni-channel story. So if you have a business that's established in the local community, they have a GMB, they rank on Google already, they have a community of people, they're already doing email follow-up to bring people back to the site, or they have social media content going out, that site's gonna do better on Meta, because you already have a warm audience on the site to use for retargeting. You'll get better outcomes versus a studio that's cold, or has weak reviews on their GMB. They're gonna have a much more difficult time finding the right people and converting them. And then the other piece is like LTV. If they have a great martial arts academy, a great school, great instructors, they'll get a higher LTV. People will stick around longer. What's the point of filling their calendar with a bunch of new appointments if the school itself is just not equipped to convert and retain and deliver like a good experience? So there's a lot of components to it. I'm sure you run up against all of it. And a lot of times the business owners don't want to hear that the issue is actually on their side, not on the marketing agency side. They just expect you to fix everything and, magically make it rain.
100% agree. One of the bonuses that we offer to all of our clients is a monthly masterclass. And this is something that I teach. And it's to be able to teach, things like closing your back door. These are the retention strategies that, you need to have in place, because otherwise they're coming in just as fast as they're leaving. And I think, everybody is, and I think this in every industry, everybody is so focused on, acquisition, new clients. How many clients do you have? I say 600 clients. It's something I am proud of. We are the largest, but it's like a martial arts school. You'll see schools that have 300 students that make less money than a school that has 200 students. And it's just because of the value of each student. So those are things that we want to train our, clients on, understanding not just the recruiting strategy, but also, the retention strategies and the revenue strategies as well.
Amazing. And that's one of the things you can do because you niche down. Like you focused on the martial arts academies. You yourself came from that world. You know what they need. And so you're giving them content about how to build a more effective business, a better school, create a better outcome for that business. So that's really smart. I know you're pretty thoughtful about how you run your business and keep a tight ship. You go back 6 years and you think about when you started this thing, anything you would do differently than what you did?
Yeah, anytime somebody asks me that question, the answer is usually no, because then would it have brought me, somewhere differently? Um, I think the only thing I would say is I would have found Josh Nelson in Seven Figure Agency faster. I waited until COVID hit and I lost about 33% of our clients. And I was just kind of running the agency with the business skill set that I had of running a martial arts school. And yes, there are similarities, but there are also, differences. So when COVID hit and I, lost 33% of our clients, I went and sought out a mentor and found Josh Nelson, and would not be where I am at today if it wasn't for the 7FA model, the 7FA community, and the mentors inside of the program. So that's my answer. That's what I would have done differently. I would have found him on day one instead of like a year into building the business.
I think that's good advice. Building an agency, just join 7FA and do what Josh Nelson tells you to do. Good model.
There you go.
I approve of that. And so you were talking a little bit about your use of AI, how you guys have implemented it within the agency. I know a lot of agencies are trying to figure out their approach to it and where they can implement it to get the best outcomes and success. I've got a whole perspective on this, but I'm kind of curious yours. Where have you guys implemented it successfully? Not on kind of at a nitty gritty level, but just at a high level. Like where have you guys found success with it?
Yeah, so actually 3 weeks ago, we brought on a new team member for a brand new role called our automation specialist. And, AI has been the buzzword for well over a year now. You're seeing a lot of people making a lot of money with their offer by just, putting two little letters at the end of it. I do believe that a lot of the AI, push that you're seeing is solutions that are trying to find a problem. And I think that for us, what we really needed to leverage first was automating as much as we could. And I think automations and AI, those two words kind of, are being used interchangeably. So this automation specialist that we brought on, their main role is just to sit with each one of our departments, literally sit next to the onboarding manager, sit next to the onboarding specialist, sit next to the concierge agent, watch them work and figure out what can be automated. And one of the keys to this, though, and I think the businesses that are going to win with AI are not the ones that are just trying to implement this for efficiency, but understand that it should only be implemented if it's just as effective as the human doing it. And I think if you focus on not just the efficiency, but also the effectiveness, then you can win. So some of the things, and he's only been on the team for 3 weeks now, but we were really looking for somebody that understood how to use N8N or Make, right? And those were kind of the prerequisites of coming on. And for instance, our call center, right? I mean, they're making 3, 4, 500 calls a day per person, and there's like 7 of them. And what was happening is that leads were going into high level. So we use high level as the CRM. And then they would get like Slack notification that, hey, you got a lead, because they've got 5 minutes to follow up. So if you're like in the bathroom, you got to go to your computer and follow up, for that client. And then it was getting sent to a spreadsheet. But at the end of the day, they were having to copy and paste all of their leads into a spreadsheet and then tally up. These are how many leads came in. These are how many, people we spoke to. These are how many appointments were booked. And that was like manual labor taking about 30 minutes. So John came in, he was like, oh, I can automate that. Within 2 days, the whole process was automated. Now we're saving 30 minutes per agent per day. I mean, that adds up, right? With just a simple automation that they launched in N8N. Another thing that we built out was numbers reporting. So one of the big time consumptions for our ad account reps, which is what we call our media buyers, is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they have to go into the Facebook ads manager. You've got to look at the campaign. You've got to report how much was spent, how many leads came in, and then you're going to make your optimizations. But we also need to check in high level. Did those leads make it over to high level? Because sometimes tech does not work and integrations break. It doesn't matter if the lead's in Facebook, because the client's only going to see the leads that are in high level. So if you've got 20 leads, saying Facebook has, produced, but high level's only saying 11, there's an issue there. So we're manually doing that. And one of the things that we built in N8N was being able, every morning 6 a.m., all of the data for all 600 schools get pulled into a spreadsheet, and it automatically updates not just the Facebook lead data and the budget and the cost per lead, but also how many leads were in high level. But this is a really great example of, man, that's super efficient, because it probably takes each one of our media buyers at least an hour just to report their numbers, depending on how many clients they have. But does it make it more effective? And the answer was no. Because here's the reality we found. If you're just reading numbers off of a report versus physically entering those numbers in a report with something as important as our main service offering, it wasn't as effective. And the media buyer said, this is cool that, maybe if I'm on PTO and there isn't somebody to, put in the numbers, like this could automatically do it. But we actually prefer to enter the information in, because it gives us a better understanding of how the account is doing. So this is why it's so important. Oh yeah, that makes us more efficient, but does it make you more effective? And that's really what we're trying to focus on with implementing automations and AI. It's got to check both of those boxes. Otherwise, I don't care if it makes us more efficient if we're not as effective.
I like that. We also, one of the challenges that we have, and I think you can relate to this when you have 600 clients, is being able to look at the overall portfolio and understand what's happening. Which clients are winning, which clients are not winning. And obviously you hope that every one of your CSMs and strategists are dialed in on that and they know what's going on, but you have to have layers and people who are reviewing the overall account mix and the portfolios and see who's winning, who's not. And that was a real challenge for us, because our model on our agency side is different. Our agency is more generalist, and we have all different kinds of clients, and we also have different types of services that they partake in. And so one of the things that we were worried about is, we got to make sure every client is succeeding, and that our most senior level strategists are putting their energy into looking at the campaigns that are not successful. Can we figure out what is going wrong? Is it an issue with the client? Are they not doing the part that they said they would do, or what's going on there? So what we ended up doing is building like a universal reporting system. We actually use Search Atlas for this in the report builder, connect all the data points together, and then we're able to use AI to summarize each report and then the collection of them. So we can say, every week we get a report on Monday. These are the clients that are really successful, the most successful, turn them into case studies, which is great. And then these are the clients that are not successful, ordered. These are the ones that we need to look into. And then our strategists look at those accounts and figure out what needs to shift in the strategy to make sure that they're getting the result that they need. And then that also helps from a reporting perspective. But to your point, we don't want to just copy and paste the report and send it off to the client without mentally processing, what does this say? And sometimes even the AI, what we've learned is that the more data you give it in the context, the less it's able to really understand what is going on. So if you think about feeding in a bunch of data points, ticks, it can't see the full time series, the full story. It's just looking at these raw individual numbers. So we had to figure out how to handle that. And there's like layers to it. But that's just sort of the thing, is that you can't just take one crack at, okay, we're going to use AI in this part of the system. You have to do it. You have to QA it. You have to review it. It's not as simple as everyone likes to say that it is. It does take quite a bit of iteration, especially if you're operating at the scales that we're talking about, where sending off the wrong report to a client can really destabilize the relationship. So, important to like spend the extra time. The goal of AI shouldn't be to, hey, let's just shave off as many seconds as we can. It should be to actually allow us to build a more efficient machine that creates better outcomes for the clients. So I like that you have that frame. I agree with that completely. Um, kind of
Did you
like
read
shifting
the
gears.
email that was? Did you read the email that the Fiverr CEO sent out to all of his employees, where he basically said AI is coming for your job? I don't know if you read that or not.
Dark. No, I didn't
Um,
see it. What did he say?
yeah, it was. I mean, it was a very long email, and it was. I mean, he was just straight up, AI is coming, for your job, but this is what you can do, and he listed out 7 different things in the email, and like signed it off, like, hey, maybe you think I'm a jerk for telling you this, but I'm just being transparent because I care about you, and I actually ended up sharing that email with my team, shared some statistics of, like Klarna lost 40% of its workforce, not because it fired people because AI can do its job, but just through natural attrition. And they paused hiring so that they can leverage AI to do more work for them without needing to hire more people. And what I had kind of felt like as a founder, and I'm sure some founders can relate to this, because we are in this world and you are plugged into the, business groups and CEO groups, and maybe you're in a mastermind, you're hearing all of this AI, AI, AI. And I felt like I was the only one in the company that was concerned about this. And during one of our all hands on deck, I read that email from the Fiverr of CEO. I shared the, stats about what companies are doing in terms of pausing hiring. And I said, look, AI isn't going to take your job, but somebody that knows how to use AI might. And I needed to draw a line in the sand for everybody in the company to understand that there's no passengers in this. We're all rowing this boat. And I need everybody in the company to start researching and figuring out, how can you become more efficient and effective? And I put them in groups of 3, and we did an assignment. And I said, I want you to go research, figure out some form of software or custom GPT. And then I made them present on it. And it was phenomenal, the ideas. And I really felt a shift occur in our agency. And, our team has been using Chat GPT for quite some time now. But now you're walking by and, depending on their role, you're seeing they've got makeup on the screen, or N8N, or they're creating custom GPTs. And I think that's a really important aspect, that us as the leader, it's not how can we do it, it's who can help us do that. And I think it's really important for agency owners to start planting that seed, that we need everybody on the team to embrace this, not just a handful of people.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people ask me the same questions, like, how do you think I can bring this philosophy and ingrain it into the culture of the company? And if you just take a fully top-down approach where you say, "Hey, you guys should use this, you guys should use that," you're missing out on actually getting the buy-in, because instead of them feeling like this was done to them, they're a part of the process and
Mm.
they're actively co-creating it and how it shapes their role. And plus, like, I think it's a kind of a rookie mistake to assume you as a leader know the correct answer to everything. If you believe that you are the answer, that's not the way to do this. It's really a a who problem, not a how problem. Get the who, get the team to figure it out, and then collaborate to create it. And there are some trainings out there too, that they can take to help. Like we had all of our engineering team take an amazing AI workshop that just shows them how to implement, how to build, how to use Cursor to write code faster, and they loved it. It was brilliant. But we let them feel like they opted in, not that we were forcing it upon them, because it is touchy. Um, and Chris, I'm kind of curious because like going back to like your channel mix, you guys are heavily focused Google Ads, Meta Ads. What about TikTok?
Yeah, so we leaned into TikTok ads right when they launched. And, I sold my martial arts school in January of 2024 because the GoPro had just grew to a size that required my full attention if I was really going to take it to the next level. And the whole, chase two rabbits, catch none was, very front and center for me. So what was great about having the school is that I could test everything inside of the school instead of testing it on my clients. And when TikTok ads rolled out, we initially launched, and what we found was we could get a ton of leads for an incredibly low cost. But the quality, if you think Facebook leads are bad, the quality for service based leads we found were even worse. And it was because back then, and I believe they're starting to roll out zip code marketing in TikTok, but when they initially launched, it was DMAs, designated marketing areas. And for example, in Tampa, the DMA was from Clearwater to Brandon, which if you were driving a car, that could take an hour and a half, if not longer. So you weren't able to really target for brick and mortars, like a 1 mile, 2 mile, or 3 mile radius, like you can in Facebook and in Google. And because the DMAs were so large, you're getting people from all over to come in. But what we found was instead of trying to book one-on-ones, what would work well is if you were doing some form of a like an event where you could invite 50 people to come in. Let's say, launched a campaign, I got 100 leads, 50 say they're going to show up. 50 aren't going to show up, but I get 20 to show up, and now I can pitch that, entire group. And that worked well. The problem is you have to refresh creative often. And if it's already difficult getting videos, for our clients on Facebook, it's that much more difficult constantly having to refresh on TikTok. So
Right.
that's kind of what we found. So we stopped offering that as an offer. But I think if you're just looking to like build an email list and build it quick, and you're okay with, half of the leads not even being able to come to your brick and mortar, then, it can be a viable option.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting experience. I know that they've updated some of the targeting settings on the ads, but obviously the level of intent there, if they're kind of just casually interested in the offer, like there needs, and you're hitting them with bottom of funnel messaging to like go to the location and enroll in a class. That is a much more challenging proposition.
Yeah.
Probably you're looking at more top of funnel, mid funnel traffic that you have to warm up yourself. To your point about building a list. As far as like the future of martial arts and marketing in this industry, you feel pretty confident that it's going to stay Meta and Google Ads?
I do. Yeah, I do. I think there's always going to be people that say Facebook ads, don't work. I think there's a group of people that say Google ads just don't work for them as well. I think, what we talked about earlier in terms of the follow up, in terms of the asset, I think the schools that also lean into their organic, that's another really big struggle. You're running ads and then somebody clicks on your Facebook profile and you haven't posted in 6 months. It's like you're not there to stay relevant. And I think, like, oh, I want to go viral. Like, you don't need to be viral, but the absolute best marketing strategy for any business in any industry is to become famous. I mean, that's it. Like, once you're famous, once your face is known in your industry, that is the best marketing strategy. For us, we just need our clients to do that within a 5 mile radius. Yes, part of it is doing that online, but part of it is also the community that you're building in person. Are you going to the local elementary schools? Are you part of your chamber of commerce? Are you doing B2B events? And it's work, and I always say
Yeah.
in our business, we always have to make the choice of, do I want to spend my time my energy, my sweat equity, my effort, or do I want to spend my money? And I just think that because we are now living in this world of convenience where, I mean, I've got a pretty young team out there, and some of them are Uber eating like every other day, and I'm like, what are you doing? It's like $25 to Uber Eats lunch. Like, go either pack your lunch and bring it in, or go to the place. But they're willing to pay that extra amount for the convenience. And I think
Sounds like my
sometimes as
mom.
business owners, yeah, we will. Sorry. I'm very passionate about Uber Eats. I've just seen
Yeah,
so many young kids, like their entire check is going to it. It's like, what are
totally.
you doing?
Yeah.
Look, if you can afford it,
Plus the
that's one
avocado
thing,
toast and the Starbucks coffees, it just
right?
adds up. And at the end of the day, what do you have left at the end of the month? Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, but I just think many business owners have that mindset of, I just want the convenience of, let me throw $1,500 on Facebook and I should be good. Like, I always talk about lines out in the ocean. If we're going fishing and I have 10 fishing poles and you have one fishing pole, I'm going to catch more fish. And I think just too many business owners are trying to find the one way to get 10 new clients or 20 new clients or 30 new clients. And it's like, maybe you should try a handful of ways to get 2 clients here and 3 clients here, because we saw with COVID what happens when you put all your eggs in one basket. You've got to diversify those marketing strategies.
Makes sense. And Chris, I know you mentor a lot of other agency owners. A lot of agency owners come to you for advice on how to build their agency, how to grow to the level that you're at. Uh, as you look ahead in the future and you think about our model and how we build agencies, what do you see? What do you see for the future of the agency model?
Yeah,
Honestly.
I mean, yeah, we talked before, off screen. I mean, I am a little bit more doomsday with the AI thing. I am naturally a worrier, and I am naturally risk averse. It's just kind of who I am. I know that about myself. And I've there's been plenty of nights where I'm waking up in the middle of the night, like concerned about how is AI going to change this? Is there going to be a time where you can just type in a couple of words in the ads manager and voila, there's an entire campaign? And do I think it's happening very, very soon? No, but I am very interested in what this landscape for digital marketing agencies is going to look like 12, 24, 36 months from now. And all we can do is prepare. And that's why, we're bringing in new roles. We're hiring in for roles that we never had before. And I think I also have a concern because I'm not operating on a jet ski or a jet boat anymore. I kind of got a pretty big ship with
Yeah.
43 people, and it can take us longer to implement when you've got mid management and you've got leadership levels. And I remember the good old days where if I wanted to implement a new idea, like, I didn't have to let anybody know. I would just do it and then it's done. Now it's like, oh, I gotta let the leadership team know, gotta let mid management know. So I am slightly fearful, but I also know that, one, life always seems to balance itself out. So I do think there are going to be certain companies that are going to go really heavy, into AI, and there's going to be, certain clients like, no, I don't want a chatbot. No, I don't want a robot talking to my clients. I want an actual human being. Well, I want to be able to offer both. Then I want to have the human, and I also want to have the voice AI that can do it. Um, I watched the Diary of a CEO podcast. It's the AI agent one, and it was a phenomenal conversation. They brought in 3 different guys. Absolutely love the podcast, and some of the conversations about, like, AI taking everybody's jobs, and now universal basic income is going to become a thing. Like, they went down that route. Um, but what I do know is, whatever my competitors have access to, I also have access to. And more importantly, I've surrounded myself with very, very smart people, like the people in Josh Nelson's 7-figure agency, like yourself. And together and collectively, we will be able to figure it out. I also feel strongly because I've built a very strong brand in my industry. I've spent the last 6 years every single day. This is not an exaggeration. Every weekday, Monday through Friday, I have put out a piece of content. I've never missed a day. If you're friends with me online or you're in one of my Facebook groups and you open the app, you're going to see my face. And when they see my face, oh, that's Cris, and she does marketing in the martial arts. So we have a really strong brand. Like I said earlier, I think the absolute best marketing strategy is fame. And if you can become famous within your niche, no matter what happens with AI, and you have a strong brand, I hope and I believe we'll be okay.
I think that's a really honest take, Cris. And I think when I look at the future, I think a lot of people that are really in the doomsday camp that think that the model will evaporate. That people have said that at many different points in the story of doing marketing, and there tends to be the case that things take longer before they fully reach the SMB market. You know this to be true, that how many already in the Facebook ad manager, a business can build their own ads. But if they create an ad versus me or you, we know how that's going to go. Right? We're going to outperform them. And there will always be levels to that knowledge, right? Even in the age of AI, where AI is able to automate certain workflows and steps, there is that last piece of the insight, the deeper knowledge about how the marketing channel works. For example, you remember those days when you could build custom audiences in Facebook, scraped from Facebook groups? You'd plug in people's user ID or their user handle, and you can run an ad to them. This is how I used to get $1 installs for my first startup for our iOS mobile app. We would go to the Yankees group and the Knicks group, and we would basically scrape all these users and send them ads, basically saying like buy tickets in our app, and we would get installs for $1 or $2, where the industry average was like $100 or more. So we got gobs and gobs and gobs of customers this way. That loophole, that insight about the platform, Facebook doesn't do that for you natively. You have to know. And there will always be levels to knowledge of how to crack the marketing channel that the AI is not going to dial in for you. It's going to be us leveraging it with our secret sauce and our knowledge that we're gaining in the groups like 7FA and the communities that we're a part of and the people we associate with that do those experiments and share the knowledge. So if it makes you feel any better, I don't feel quite as doomsday about it. I do feel like AI is actually making this fresh again, especially in SEO, where it's not just about Google anymore. Now there's a real use case for focusing on Bing and focusing on ChatGPT. And now maybe it's actually making the digital marketing landscape more interesting, more advanced, more opportunity for us. So, but I guess we'll see how it all shakes out.
We
That's part
will.
of the fun of this. Cris, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed this interview with you. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom and insight. And yeah, look forward to hearing about what's next for GrowPro. And I'll be watching your content as I see it appear in my feed.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me today. Had a blast.